really getting into the nitty of what it really takes for us to execute and perform at a high level on a consistent basis. And so I want to just recap on last Wednesday's topic call. And we really just kind of broke apart, okay, well, what is a system? And then what is a process? So remember, a system is a group or combination of things or parts forming a complex or unitary whole. Processes are the related activity, the parts inside the system that work together to make it function. Processes are a smaller part of the larger system. So if you want to really think about it, systems are what, as in the value we provide. Our processes are the how. How do we really get things done? On the flight yesterday, I was really kind of thinking through, and it was something, Coach Burt talks a lot about, and he talks about Pray Drive, and really what it takes to ignite that inside of us on a consistent basis. And I was like, okay, well, everything I think through is really systematic, and it's always right things, right order. So if we understand the power of that reignition every day, then what is that? What's the sequence? What's the process for us to make sure that we are performing at our best each and every day? Because what got us to where we're at is definitely not going to get us to where we want to go. We have to become the best version of ourselves. So, that thought process is always like, okay, well, I want to accomplish X, Y, Z. And then the question has to become, who do I have to become for that to be true? What sacrifices do I have to make in order for this to happen, for me to be able to move in that direction? And going through years ago, I bet it was at least 12, 13 years ago, I went through a book by Tony Schwartz called The Power of Full Engagement. Unless you just want to geek out, there's no reason to get the book. I'll give you the lowdown on it right here. So in The Power of Full Engagement, they studied their work with professional tennis players and what it takes for a professional tennis player to perform at their best. And so think about it. Tennis players, I'm not a tennis player. I tried twice. That was it. I'm good. But think about it in how short bursts they have to go to be on, right? On, recover, on, recover, on, recover. And so they went through the study in what it took to perform at a high level. They took their work with tennis players and then they applied those same principles to executives in the business world. And what they uncovered is that for us to perform at our absolute best, we have to be on in four categories: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Okay. And so the physical is the most important because it gives us the energy to go longer, to be able to stay in the game mentally, emotionally, and spiritually as long as we need to perform how we need to perform to get the desired outcome we're after. Physical, most important. Then you look at the emotional, right? What are we doing to increase our emotional capacity each and every day? Being able to control our emotions. I shared on the leaders call today, and it was from my coach, Coach Matt, and he has a little acronym thing he goes, we're all nuts. We're all nuts, N-U-T. And he said, what happens is that the reason people disengage from us is because N stands for negative emotion. So when we have a negative emotion and it's going up, then our UT, which is U is understanding and our T is trust, goes down. So a negative emotion, our understanding and trust goes down. So how we reverse that is we have to have a greater understanding and build trust, and that negative emotion comes down. So emotions, how are we controlling and staying there with our emotions? The other is mental, right? What is our mental capacity to be able to stay on task, to be able to stay laser focused, to not allow all of these damn distractions that we have coming at us all the time? What are we doing to try to protect ourselves from the distractions and mentally stay in the game? And then the last core pillar is spiritual, not religion, spiritual. And really the understanding of that is really being able to break down who you are at your core. Who you are at your core. What are your core values? What do you stand for? What are the shoulds and should nots? And when we talk about vision, it all starts with the core values. When we talk about hiring, it all starts with the core values. When we talk about, all of our decisions that are being made are around the values. And the thing then becomes, are we living in alignment to those values? You ladies have what I like to call built-in bullshit detectors. Okay. Us guys, we have it too. We have to work a little bit harder to register, to realize it. But you ladies have it just instinctively. You just like another human walks in, you're like, that person's not who they say they are. That person's not who, I like that person. And what it is the energy our body puts off. And that negative energy that comes off is when we're not living in alignment to who we are. Okay. So our 4 key pillars that were found through all of their research to be able to perform at the best, at the top: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. So you ask, okay, well, what do we do, or what are the activities that we have to do in order for those to be at the top of our game? Well, let's go back to the physical. The physical is we have to physically get stronger. We physically have to get stronger, meaning we got to lift heavy shit. I mean, there's no way else around it. We have to lift heavy stuff. And in order to make our body stronger, that also goes into the nutritional side of things. Really it comes down to, it's a calorie game, but it's also making sure that we're putting the right amount in. But you also need to know what it is for your body. Like for me on the endurance side of things, like I need to be about 3,200 to 3,500 calories per day is where my body needs to be to be able to perform where I need to perform. And then it's water. It's staying freaking hydrated. The rule of thumb is that if you weigh 100 pounds, then it's 50 ounces of water a day. If you weigh 200 pounds, it's 100 ounces of water per day. You've got to make sure that we're getting the right calorie intake. We're eating what we need to do to not feel like shit, right? Like, hey, I grew up a lot in Oklahoma, fried everything, right? Like that's how I grew up, and I can't stand fried food because that's how I was raised. But I know how my body feels when I do have some fried food. I know how I feel. I can't. So you got to pay attention. The physical, lift heavy things, pay attention to your nutrition, stay hydrated. On the emotional counterbalance. So it's all about renewal. So we deplete, we renew, we deplete, we renew. Emotion, how we maintain that is really going to be from a form of cardio. Think about it. If you've ever been emotionally drained and you went for a walk, how did you feel afterwards? It recharges our emotions. Cardio recharges our emotions. So we've got to have some form of cardio, and it doesn't have to be crazy. Like this morning, I kid you not, I had one of the best morning routines. I walked out of the hotel here. I know it says it's 6 miles around Central Park. I was like, we're going to test that out. So leave from the hotel, walked around Central Park, came back to the hotel, it was exactly 7 miles. But I did the 168 reset. I talked to my leadership team. I felt emotionally when I got back to the hotel, I felt fulfilled. I was like, God dang, man, I can do this every day. So what type of cardio counterbalance do you have into your week? Third is mental. Okay. And I'm going to come back to the emotional thing here in just a second too. On the mental side of things, that's where a mindfulness practice, that's where a meditation, that's where a silence, that's where a prayer keeps us mentally recharged. That is the renewal on our mental. For mentally spent, go for a walk with no music. Put your headphones in so nobody will talk to you, but go for a walk and just recharge. That's the mental recharge. And then the spiritual, I gave it to you guys. Are you living in alignment to who you say you are? Are you living to who you are at your core? Either you are or you're not. You know what if you are. And so are you living in an alignment? Those four things have to happen on a consistent basis. Now, do you do them enough to where they become a habit? Or is it just a consistent ritual that you have to do every day? No matter what, it has to happen. Okay. So those are the four things. But I want to come back to the emotional side of things. And Matt and I talked about this on the podcast. And if you guys haven't listened to the podcast with Dr. Matt Townsend, I cannot encourage you guys enough to go listen to it. I had my team listen to it, and it's so powerful in dialogue theory, but also the communication that we have with ourselves. And one of the things that we talked about was happiness. And really understanding what our happiness traits are, our character traits of who we are, what makes us happy. But I asked him, I said, what is the go-to? What is the practice? What has to happen for us to be at that level? And I believe this helps us emotionally and mentally. Because if we're doing things that make us happy, of course, emotionally we're going to be in a better place. Mentally, we're going to be in a better place. Spiritually, we're going to be in a better place. And so he said two things. He said, you've got to have some type of mindfulness practice that covers the mental pillar. And then the other is that we have to really study emotional intelligence and really pay attention to our self-awareness. How do we regulate our emotions? How do we really understand what truly motivates us? The power of empathy and really understanding emotional intelligence. And the more that I'm constantly going back and listening to things and reading things, that helps me become better emotionally. So those are two musts that we need to put into that daily ritual, weekly ritual that we have for ourselves.